The Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog Fantasy. Code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy right now to get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $250. Smash a like, sub to the channel while you're here, and the audio podcast. We're still rooting on Tambo in Detroit for the Fantasy Golf World Championships, but it doesn't look like right now, as the time of this recording, that he's going to pull through and be able to give away the $50K, but hopefully he still finishes not last, and then we can boost up that prize pool. Tambo will be back in studio with me on Wednesday to talk it through. Cheer him on. He was a really generous offer that he was putting out to give away 5% of his winnings at this event. I know how much he wanted to come in first place and have a super high cash for both himself and everyone else who supported him along the way. So he's going to be super disappointed without like a top 5 finish. So, we love you, Tambo. I know there's a lot of support out there. So, wish him better luck next time, because he'll probably get himself into it, just like he does for the football ones and the King of the Beach and everything like that. So I just want to give a shout out to our guy, Tambo, down in Detroit right now, and shout out to everyone who's trying to have a good week to hit an outright winner. We got runners, kind of, in Detroit. Need Jake Knapp to go super low here after the delay on Saturday. I'm filming this a little bit early because it's Canada Day on Monday, and I'm in Canada, which means it's a long weekend. Taking the boys out to the lake, trying to get them some swimming in, spend some high-quality family time with my fam. So I hope you and your family are safe, and I know this is going to happen for everyone next weekend south of the border, but don't worry, Jeff and I will be in studio on Monday to do the pick show. It's just on Tuesday, I think we're going football, then Tambo Wednesday in studio, then football again. I got Meanie in studio on Tuesday, I believe, for football, and then Jake on America Day. So, let's have a great week, all right? Let's hopefully one of our guys can come from behind. Maybe it's going to be Andrea Pavon in Italy for us to really come through, but that's what we're seeing right now. We got the John Deere Classic this week. The field is a little bit stronger than you think when we get to the field. You'll see, but it's no longer the week before the Open Championship. It used to be a win and you're in type situation to get on the charter over to the United Kingdom to play in the Open Championship. But I do think there are 3 spots or 2 spots available at the top of the leaderboard for those not also qualified. But now, the week after the John Deere Classic is going to be the Scottish Open, where you're probably going to see a pretty significant type of talent field. So that usually lends to the John Deere Classic not being the strongest, although that's not necessarily the case this year. Let's take a look at the course. When we're talking Birdie Fest, we're talking TPC Deer Run. We got 7,289 yards, a par 71, bent grass green, 79 bunkers scattered around the course in 3 holes with water in play. We've seen Michael Kim go as low as minus 27 at this course in one of the most dominating performances. I still can't believe it happened. And checking my notes here, I have some guy named Bryce DeChambeau as a winner in 2017. I think it's going to be Bryson, although it might be his brother. Who knows? No, it wasn't. It was Bryson when he was still wearing pre-beefy Bryson won the John Deere Classic. Straka won last year at minus 21. JT Poston won at minus 21 the year before that. But I kind of feel for the John Deere Classic, for the longest time when they would refer to the Players' Championship as the 5th major, I would just kind of joke that the John Deere Classic is the 19th major. But this is a tournament that's been around forever, and I really do like it. You have people watching on their boats in the river coming down 17 and 18. This was a fantastic spot when Spieth had his breakout in 2015. He shot that 61 on Saturday and then chipped in from the bunker to run down Zach Johnson. And I just really like watching this one. It's like, I would almost say it's like King of the Ring in the mid-90s, but Bret Hart was the first winner, then Owen Hart was the second winner of the pay-per-view versions. But it's kind of like the mid-card. Everyone from the mid-card, normally speaking, you would find here, and that's what you've seen as winners over the years. Like these guys that are just, you think that they're good, you think that they could break through. Are they ever going to do anything else? We don't know. You had the up-and-comer with Spieth. Sorry, it was 2013. He won in 2015 as well, but he won in 2013 as a 19-year-old, I believe. But then Brian Harmon wins the next year. Ryan Moore wins. Bryson DeChambeau gets his breakthrough win at this course. Same as Michael Kim. Glover wins for the first time in like a decade in 2021. Poston gets a win. Straka gets a win. So these guys that are just teetering, that you like to bet in tournaments, but you'd much rather bet them at 65 to 1, and you'd probably never bet them in a signature event. That's the kind of tournament that this is. But you just think that where it was previously held before the Open Championship, the winner would get in. There was like real stakes to that, it felt. And now it doesn't, because where it's been pushed back and the Scottish Open just draws a lot of interest, some of the bigger names that you would normally see aren't playing this week. Although this time around, guys trying to get out of a funk before the Open Championship are going to give that. But we're seeing a lot of young players in the field this week, so that's pretty exciting. We take a look at the par threes. There are 4 of them. 195 yards is the average. 3 of them rank amongst the 7 toughest holes on the course, all with a birdie rate under 16% and a double or worse rate of at least 1%. That's always nice to hear. Straka was 1 over on the par threes through Friday a year ago, but closed things down over the weekend, going 3 under on the par threes on Saturday and Sunday. 11 par fours, the average distance, 435 yards. The 2 toughest holes on the course are par fours to end each 9. 503 yard number 9 owns the highest bogey rate on the property, while number 18, 476 yards, is home to the highest double or worse percentage at 4.3%. Straka made 5 bogeys in his win last season. 4 of them came on par fours, 2 on number 9, and famously double bogeyed the last hole. I think he had a chance to, it was either par or birdie for 59, and he ended up making double bogey, but still ended up closing the door anyway, just sitting there. Went out, posted a score, had a fantastic Sunday, and that was that. The par 5s, 576 yards, 3 of the 4 easiest holes on the course, with number 2 seeing over half the field birdie it and 4% of the field make an eagle. In rounds 2 and 3 a year ago, Straka birdied both back 9 par 5s. He birdied all 3 of the par 5s on Friday. We'll get more to the DraftKings streak when we take a look at the scorecard over on Fantasy National. Both 9s close in difficult fashion, so there isn't likely to be a ton of streaks that bridge either turn. That said, going back to front gives you access to 16 and 17 and 1 and 2 for holes that are among the 6 easiest on the course. So if you can make a birdie on 18 that has a 13% birdie rate, you can sandwich it either way. You can go 18, 1, 2, or 17, 16, 17, and 18 if you can do that, where hole number 9 only has a 9% birdie rate. So it's marginally better to start on the back if you're really trying to mine a birdie streak at the turn of any of these. It's just probably not very likely. Taking a look at all the winners, Straka was minus 21, beat Todd and Alex Smalley by 2. He was 11 back after Thursday, but carded nothing worse than 65 after the opening 73 and picked up 5 strokes on both Smalley and Todd on Sunday. 8 golfers picked up over 5 strokes putting for the week. Their finishing positions were 1, 2, 4, 6, 6, 6, 6, and 21. Got to make your putts here. You don't have to go absolutely nuclear on the greens, but it is pretty helpful to do that. It saves a lot of problems for you either way. JT Poston finished at minus 21. That was a very popular bet that week. I did not hit it. I think Jeff did. I was on Seabez that week, who came in second place, tied with Emiliano Grillo. It was the first round leader by 2 strokes. He was 5 better than Grillo through 2 days and 7 better than Bez. They kind of made it up over the weekend, but Poston was just way out in front. It really didn't matter. He had a big lead going into Sunday. The top 7 finishers all gained on the field in proximity from over 200 yards. 5 of them lost strokes inside 100 yards. However, looking at it and knowing the types of players that we've seen finish at the top of leaderboards, the type of players that they are, you will just see a lot of really, really good wedge players. Everyone kind of hits the fairways here. Even if you hit the rough, it's not that big of a deal. There's many undulations in the fairway. You don't have a lot of even lies. It's kind of akin to Kapalua that way. And it's not a significant crossover between those 2 courses, but we did see Stricker win this tournament 3 times in a row. Obviously, he has won at Kapalua. Spieth has won this tournament twice. I believe he's won twice at Kapalua. And Zach Johnson is another dual winner of both those. Very good wedge players hitting it off either slightly above or below your feet. Obviously, Spieth has been very good at the Masters as well, and so is Zach Johnson. It's not to say, hey, if they're good at the Masters, obviously, if you're good at the Masters, you should be beaten up on a pretty terrible field at the John Deere, but it's just funny that those names all kind of circle around, and we do know those places both very hilly and very few flat lies around the grounds. Lucas Glover broke that streak in 2021, 2 clear of Ryan Moore and Kevin Na. So we're sensing a theme here. Glover's a very good tee to green player, but he's very accurate off the tee. He's a terrible putter, but he putted well that week, but very good with his wedges. Ryan Moore, terrible putter, but very good with his wedges. Kevin Na, great putter, also still very good with his wedges, not very long off the tee. Glover was tied for the best round on Friday in 2021 with a 63 and Sunday with a 64, 4 better than Moore and Na to help offset the 68 on Thursday and 70 on Saturday. Worth noting too with Straka, he was 11 shots off the lead after Thursday and just really blitzed the field. Jonas Blix jumped out to a lead of -9 to kick things off in 2023. So one bad round will probably sink you, but it's not impossible at this course. In 2021, each of the top 10 finishers gained strokes putting from 10 to 15 feet, with Glover easily being the best, plus 4.1 strokes gained on the field from that range. No one else was above 3 strokes gained. So when you hit it to 14 feet and make all your birdie putts, you're probably going to win. Dylan Fratelli won in 2019. I totally forgot that, which was a really bizarre one. One top 25 finisher lost strokes on approach, and it was Fratelli who lost almost a stroke. You never see people win tournaments that way, but Dylan Fratelli did it. He picked up a total of 12.3 strokes between chipping and putting. And then there was the 2018 year with Michael Kim, -28. 8 clear of Damon, Molinari, Ryder, and Bronson. Burgoon, he led going into the weekend, 63-64, and then 64 again on Saturday. I think he shot even par in the final round, but he was just so far up on the field. He gained 13.5 strokes. When I interviewed Michael Kim earlier this year, we talked about this a little bit. He was just like, sometimes it clicks. And yeah, he was 16th tee to green that week. And a lot of that had to do with what he did on Sunday, where he just didn't really seem like he gave a shit. He was just, I'll hit it to 40 feet every time. Don't worry about me. Just don't make double bogeys, and I'm going to run away with this. And he did. So shout out to Michael Kim. And he's playing some good golf in Detroit. So maybe we give another look to Michael Kim coming in this weekend. The lowest driving accuracy that we've seen at this course was in 2022. It was 63%. That's the lowest it had been since 2000. But generally speaking, the average driving accuracy at TPC Deer Run, even with that 63% factored in, is 71%. And because there's the 4 par 3s this week, so if we just think about that, 70% times 14, just to think about underdog a little bit, that's 9.8 fairways. So if anything is over 9.5 or 9, even on some of the less accurate players in the field, the more accurate players you would think would actually hit more than that. But anything like the higher than 9.5, and they've been really dialing back on greens and regulation and driving accuracy numbers since the U.S. Open. We really beat them up for like 3 weeks in a row. So shout out to anyone who used code Mayo, deposited, then won a bunch of money on fairway props. But we'll see if they release them on Wednesday. Like Wednesday evening, they dropped last week. So they're really waiting till the last second, even after I release my newsletter, sub for free, down in the description to this show. But just keep an eye on that. Like sometimes being first to the scene is what you need to do with these to take advantage of the good lines. Hell, my entire career is based on being first to the scene. If I hadn't started a podcast in 2010, Lord knows, I'd be working at Staples right now. I probably wouldn't even have a job. Who knows? Who knows what would be happening to me? 8 feet 6 inches is the proximity around the green chipping in 2022, the 5th longest average of any on the PGA Tour. So chipping was hard in that year, and it's been pretty difficult, although players don't really miss a ton of greens and regulation at this course, with the green and regulation percentage being around 70%. But if you do miss the green, it is kind of difficult to get it up and down. 77 feet and 3 inches is the average feet of putts made for the field. This is a very easy putting course. Almost 20% of putts between 15 feet and 25 feet go in the hole. That's astronomical. It's top 5 of any course on tour from that distance. So when we get to the model in a second, you're going to see that I actually weighted 5 to 10 feet a lot more, because random chance, good putters are going to excel, obviously, but if it's easier putting from 15 to 25 feet, like bad putters are going to have good weeks from that range that you wouldn't normally see. The crux of the putting really does come down in the predictability from that 5 to 10 feet range. Who is draining those right now? That could really make a difference, because there's been 40,000 birdies or more since 2000, which is the most of any course on tour. And there was no COVID year. There was no tournament here in 2020. So keep that in mind. 359 birdies or better by Zach Johnson is the most of any player in this event since 2000. Jumping over to the scorecard at fantasynational.com, fantasynational.com/Mayo, to get yourself that 20% off, get all these stats, all these tools, and get access to the best leaderboard app in the biz. It truly is great. Like, honest to God, I'm not overselling how great this app is. Like, if you think that the PGA Tour app sucks, which it does, you're going to want the Fantasy National app for real time. It's as close to real time as you're going to get. We have the same feed as all of the gambling sites, which are way ahead of the PGA Tour for reasons unknown, I suppose. And we have it laid out in a way that it gives you shot by shot, real time strokes gained, all on an app. You don't have to reload a page. It reloads for you in real time. So fantasynational.com/Mayo to get that 20% off. The app itself is worth it, but that's just a throw in right now on what we're doing. So as I mentioned before, it's just under 7,300 yards as a par 71. You can see the eagle rate isn't super high. It is, 4% is super high for number 2. Number 17, 2.5%. So, and that has a 41% birdie rate. Bogey rate of 9%, though, because you can get yourself into some trouble on that hole. And then a 32% on the par 5 at number 10. Number 14 is the other easy hole on the course. It's 361 yards. Maybe someone can drive it in this field, but I wouldn't really be looking at that. But it still has a 35% birdie rate. All in all, we take a look at birdie rates on this course. There are, what we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll throw the 19.7 is good enough for 20%. So we'll call 10 holes with a birdie rate north of 20% or more. And there's a few more at 18. The lowest ones I mentioned before is number 9, the hardest hole on the course. When we take a look at ranking, is number 9, then it's 18, those 2 par 4s. And then number 15 is pretty tough as well, with almost a 20% bogey rate versus a 13% birdie rate and a double or worse rate of 2.5%. Number 10 also has a pretty high double or worse rate and only a 17% birdie rate. But it kind of equals itself out, but you can make a big number at number 11. So you just need to basically push on these holes and then just go score on the holes that are super scoreable. And you can see approach and putting is how the top 10 has done it over time. And a lot of that, when we take a look at the proximity range, it's just really good wedge players. Even to take a look at the top 5, you see more of it as well. Over a stroke per round on approach, over a stroke putting per round, about half a stroke-ish, 4/10 of a stroke. What is that? 2/5 of a stroke. There we go. I'm getting back to dumbing down my fractions a little bit more, going to the lowest common denominator per round off the tee, and 35.35 per round. So basically, if you can just not lose strokes around the green, you're gonna be good. Beat up on the par 5s, beat up on the par 4s, push on the par 3s. Pretty simple strategy. And then you take a look at the average shot distribution here. So the buckets, it's all just kind of scattered around. Even 13%, 100 to 125, that's a very high percentage from that range. 20%, 125 to 150. So basically, this is the range that I'm concerned about. Yes, the 200 plus is going to be important for generating eagle opportunities and generating easier, even to some of the longer par 4s, making that easy. The longer par 3s. What's the longest par 3 here? It's 215 and 226. Yeah, so that's going into that bucket of the 200 plus. So yeah, you need to be good there. And you don't even need to put it close, because you're probably going to make your putt 1/5 of the time from 20 feet anyway. So just put it there and hope to get lucky. But this is the scoring range. You're basically 75 to 150. And even on some of the par 5s, I believe it's number 10 is the one, or maybe it's number 17. Depends on how long you are, I suppose, in this field. I just remember Ryan Moore laying back. I can't remember if it was number 10 or number 17. Just every day he would hit it to 105 yards on his layup and just stick it on that green that's by the water. You can get it to roll down. The Sunday pin is in the back right, and you're off to the races. But that's where that is really going to come in handy. If you're making your putts and you're hitting it close from this range, you're not necessarily going to win, but you're going to have a chance to win. Put it that way. The historic cut line, it's 156 players in this field this time around, so -3 a year ago. So higher than what we're going to see in Detroit. It was 4 under in Detroit this time around. 2 under, 3 under, 2 under, 2 under, 1 under, 2 under, 3 under. So 3 under is probably a pretty good estimation. If your guys get into the clubhouse at -4 through 2 rounds, they're almost essentially guaranteed to play the weekend. So keep that in mind. As mentioned before, a 71% driving accuracy rate. Again, in 2022, it was down to 63%, the lowest it had ever been. That's much higher than your average PGA Tour event by almost 10 percentage points. And a green and regulation percentage of 70% as well. Scrambling, a little bit easier here than the average tour event, although chipping can be a little bit difficult, but that's easily made up because the highest percentage of putts made from that longer distance goes a long way into helping you out in the scrambling percentage. 3 putts per round, a little bit lower, average driving distance a little bit higher, and then the average proximity to the hole from in greens of regulation is only 27 feet. That is below the 29% that we normally see on the PGA Tour. I already went through what happened tournament history-wise in terms of the past few years. As I mentioned, even before Michael Kim, you had Bryson, Spieth, Harman, and Spieth. But to take a look at strokes gained total over the past 5 years, not everyone plays it every single year, but Glover has been the best. 3 top 10s and a missed cut in his past 4 starts. Not bad. Adam Schenk, 3 top 6s and a withdraw. I used him in one and done and bet him in 2022 when he withdrew. I remember that very vividly. And he was cut in 2018. Again, there was no 2020 event. So Glover, Schenk, Moore, Seamus Power. Power's on my short list already of players to look at this week. He has been for a little while now. Denny, back-to-back top 10s each of the past 2 years. Top 20s for Alex Smalley, came in second. Hubbard has been really good. But again, Hubbard changed his swing. He's gaining more strokes off the tee, but we just have not been seeing it in terms of his regularly good approach play. The putting has still been pretty good. He kind of fits the mold of the type of player that you would think that you would see at this course do really well. He's been lingering around. We've all bet him to win at 125 for 5 years now, and he just never gets there. And you can see by his results, they haven't been great. His best performance was at Pebble Beach, but I really wish Tom Hoagie was playing this week. I would lose so much money on Tom Hoagie, but he's not in the field. And even like this week with Hubbard, he's putting pretty well. He's chipping very poorly. He made the cut to continue his massive cut streak. You can see he's made every cut in 2024, so very safe, but he's not providing any sort of upside recently. Although he played the U.S. Open, made the cut, played the PGA Championship, but he's just kind of middling. It feels like he'll pull it all together, but right now that's not really going his way. How's Denny playing recently? Doing his thing, making cuts, gaining a bunch of strokes putting, losing a bunch off the tee. Not as important this week off the tee in terms of being able to really be an elite driver of the ball. That could be a cheat code this week. It doesn't hurt to drive the ball really well, but hitting your wedges and making all your putts is going to be really the key thing. And we saw Denny do that very well against Akshay earlier this year until the playoff when he pulled his layup wedge into the drink, and that was the end of it. That was really bizarre how that ended up shaking out. It's funny with Seamus Power. He's just playing elevated events. This is kind of the point I made about Jake Knapp going into last week's show when I wrote him up. Hopefully he can win. That would be really nice. Let's take a look at the leaderboard here on the app that I'm looking at. I still have Mark Hubbard start here. How you doing, Jake Knapp? You made a birdie yet today? No, of course not. Of course he's 1 over through 2 holes. Jabroni, figure it out. Oh man, all my guys are terrible today. Cootie over par, Fox 3 over par, Knapp over par. At least Hoygaard's putting for eagle in real time as I'm doing that to really timestamp this one out. Davis Thompson's 4 under at the moment, and so is Raza's boy, Luke Clanton. Good for him. But it's been elevated events for Seamus Power that he has just been playing pretty well. He cashes that top 20 right on the number at the Travelers Championship, but he will be in this field. And, the approach play has been pretty good. The putting's starting to come around. And ideally, I think, if we just go to take a look at his proximity numbers, in my mind, Seamus Power is a very good wedge player. And he does play easy courses really well and difficult courses really well. He just doesn't happen to play the mediocre courses all that good. So very good from 100 to 125, just gaining on the field over his past 5, 10, and 20 tournaments. Historically, been very good from 125 to 150 and very good from 150 to 175 as well. So you can see he's always picking up in those buckets. Some courses have it, some don't, when to really weigh them out. But I would like his wedge play coming into this week. You just kind of look for the Ryan Moore profile. Like Ryan Moore who can putt, and that's really what you want to do. So who else has played this well? Fratelli's in the field. He's been playing in Europe. He's been like 200 to 1 in European tournaments. I believe he played in the Italian Open this week, so he's coming a long way over. Mav might be a nice flop leg after, very poor first round at the Rocket Mortgage, although he's rebounded pretty nicely. He made the cut, but he's probably going to come outside the top 30 for the week, which is no great shakes by any means, but he has 2 top 20s in his only 2 starts here. You can see Straka won. He had no finish better than T26 in his career. Sig is top 20s each of the past 2 years. Goddard played well. He won in Myrtle Beach earlier this year. Hasn't really done much since, but that's what we're looking for the field. But when we talk about the field overall, there are a few key names to note, because guys that need to play themselves into form, and they're not playing great at the moment, but you do see names like Patrick Cantlay is playing in this tournament, Spieth, Sungjae, Day. Those 4 players, I mean, Spieth, sure, he hasn't been here in a while, and he's won this tournament twice, so maybe it's a spot for him to get off the schneid. It's all struggling players at the moment, really looking to gain some form before the Scottish and the Open Championship and really try to turn their games around. Out of that bunch, Cantlay and Sungjae are playing the best at the moment, but even in this field with the model that I've run, now I'll show you what it is here in a second, Cantlay's in the strokes gained model is only 10th over the past 12 rounds. He did have a very good U.S. Open, a very good, was he very good at the Travelers? I think he was top 10 at the Travelers. He was 5th at the Travelers. So it's starting to come around for him a little bit. He has never played this event, so it'll be the first time seeing it, but he's played well at the Masters in the past, so that's good, good for anything. And he's played well against very strong fields, so it's kind of a step down for him in terms of quality of field. So maybe he'll end up running away with it, or maybe he's not going to be great. Sungjae's just been top 10 or bust recently, but you can see that the putting's starting to come back a little bit. The approach play every few weeks is starting to come back, and he's very good off the tee, and he always has a very good short game. So Sungjae would probably be my favorite of the 4 that I just named, of Cantlay, Spieth, Day, and then Sungjae. And then you get into your next part of the field, which is like Glover, Rye, Denny, Poston, Straka, Putnam, Mitchell, like that mid-tier that we kind of saw in Detroit this week. So building out the stat model, I have John Deere, trust it more, and we'll look at the past 12 rounds. And here's what I have in terms of how I have everything allocated for the stats this week. Approach 31%. I just used the slider bars on Fantasy National to do this and to figure it out. Birdies are better gained, 13% on the field. Proximity 125, 6%, 150 to 175, 13%. So that should make Seamus Power pretty good. Ball striking and par 5s at 4%, 175 to 200. Par 3s at 7%. Putting 9% from 5 to 10 feet. And then strokes gained tee to green at 12%. So that's what I have. Let's take a look at the leaders over the past 12 rounds. Kelly Craft, Smelly Kelly, coming in. Number 1. I don't have the Rocket Mortgage stats in here so far because obviously that tournament isn't even, it's barely half over as I'm recording this. So then you got Chan Kim, for Chan, then Kevin Yu, who, it's really funny because Kevin Yu has not gained strokes putting since like January or something like that. It's just a sea of red. You need Moses to come in here and part that shit out for him, and then he'll be fine. But Phoenix was the last time he gained strokes putting, 1.4. But the best putting performance of his career at this tournament last year, 8 strokes putting. It was like the only time in the past 18 months he hasn't gained a bunch of strokes on approach. So Kevin Yu is somewhat interesting here if he can keep that going. Now, stats would say the dude cannot putt to save his life, so that's somewhat problematic. And besides his 7.9 here, the Sony Open in 2023, he gained almost 4, and that's been it. Those are the 2 by far best performances of his career. So I wouldn't count on a ton from him. So he's 3rd in the rankings, even ranking 155th from 5 to 10 feet. Mav, Rye, who might end up winning in Detroit, then might pull out and just go play the Scottish Open. Colley, Davis Thompson, Russell Knox is in this field. Seb Straka, Cantlay, Keith Mitchell, dude, there's a guy who can't make a 6-foot putt. Couldn't get it up and down on the last hole to make the cut this weekend. Thanks for nothing, Keith. Not so much of a killer anymore. Might go back to him this week if the odds are good. Daniel Berger, Bridgman, Lonto, Michael Kim, Ben Griffin, Lee Hodges. I'll probably go back to Lee Hodges, although did not have a great week in Detroit, but he was kind of setting up to be that guy who could break through and win. Then you have Seamus Power, Lauer, Zach Johnson, Chandler Phillips. Olesen is up there as well. But to take a closer look at Seamus Power, we did that a little bit earlier. 3rd in this field from 150 to 175. 1st on par 5s, 10th in 5 to 10 putting. That's kind of the profile that we're looking for coming in. So that's encouraging to see. I'm going to drop back and take a look at the past 24 rounds. Anders Albertson, where's this guy been? He gained, I don't even want to look at it yet just because it so sticks out in my mind. He was such a model darling for the first part of one season because he had one tournament where he gained an absolutely incredible amount of strokes tee to green, and it just stayed in the system, and it was so much. Where is it? Tee to green. There it is. Yeah, the Sanderson Farms in 2018 gained 13.6 strokes tee to green. He has not gained more than 4.2 in any other event in his career, but that's just a spike, almost 11. We didn't know who this guy was. Like, he can gain almost 11 strokes on approach in a tournament. Sign me up for this guy, and he's just been abysmal. What's the last time he played? He played in Puerto Rico and came 21st earlier this year. Good times for Anders Albertson. Just thought it was funny that he was in the field. But I wanted to take a look at the proximity ranges. So if we can take a look at wedges and putting, maybe we can even concoct another model here to see if there's anything that we can find, good, and see if there's anyone who just rates out really well from 100 to 125 over the past 24 rounds. So we need to see a sea of green. So you got Russell Knox. Didn't even realize Russell Knox was still on the PGA Tour, but here we are. Dude's got to be old now. He's probably playing in the Scottish, too. No finish better than 44th so far this year and hasn't played since Punta Cana, so we'll probably not play him this week. CT Pan is good from 150 and 100 to 125. Kelly Craft is a very good wedge player. So is Joel Damon. Keep Joel Damon in mind as well. Can't remember if he made the putt or not. Cut or not in Detroit this week. Ryan Moore, as always. Seamus Power. Rio Hesatune. Kisner, probably not. This would be a really good Aaron Rye tournament if he could make some putts. More on that later. I mean, not even later. Can he make some putts? We don't know. Maybe he'll make enough in Detroit to end up winning. Carson Young, Cantlay. So Cantlay rates out kind of the best of the bigger names. Glover, Mitchell, Knapp, Dylon Woo is up there as well. So let's try to build out something new. Maybe I have this already in my models, wedges and putting. We'll go to wedges. We'll turn on the wedges model, and then we'll refresh the page to see if there is anyone who's just kind of an outlier in this regard. And we can kind of look at it through different types of ranges. All right, I got to turn on that model, not manage models. I need to go to wedges. There we go. And just see I have no idea what this model is. Let's see. 75 to 100, 100 to 125, 125 to 150, and then putting from 5 to 10, 10 to 15 feet. We'll throw in 150 to 175 as well, just to get a good, that close proximity range and just give a benefit of the doubt to some of the shorter hitters who might be better. Although we probably don't need the 75 to 150. And we'll try to weight it out like we saw in terms of the bucket. So 75 to 100 was a little bit lower. 100 to 125 was a little bit lower. And then 125 to 150 was up there. So we'll go, you can see it on the screen right now. Double 16s for both those key putting ranges. 23 and 21 for 125 to 150 to 175. 16 for 100 to 125. And then 9% for 75 to 150. And see if it gives us anyone of note. Pearson Cootie. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I like to see that. All right, betting Cootie for second week in a row will lose money. Put a star next to that one. Lauer, Chandler Phillips, Denny, and this is over the past 12 rounds. We can look at it over 36 or 24 if you want to do that as well. Sung Jae is up there. Taylor Montgomery is having a really nice week. So a lot of the same names. Andrew Putnam kind of fits the perfect guy to win this tournament. He's just been playing okay all year long, and he just does exactly. He sucks off that he's been really bad with his approach game after the first part of the year where he was actually pretty good in some of these tournaments, but Colonial, he should have been good. Travelers, Memorial against the best in the world, we wouldn't expect him to be good, but look at those putting and short game stats. If he can just get back to what he was doing through the Florida swing in February and March, that makes him a real contender at this tournament. Whether or not he'll do it, I have no idea, but he has been very good from these ranges. William McGirt, so there's Glover, Kuchar, Mitchell, there's Mav, he's up there as well. Novak, probably go back to him. Parker Cootie, CT Pan, Hodges is still pretty good. The putting really does let him down. So those are some of the names that we're looking at this week. Well, that gets us to everyone's favorite part of the show, guess the odds. Again, these aren't real odds. This is just what I'm guessing it's going to be for the John Deere Classic. I could be wildly wrong. I always forget one name, one important name when I go through this, but I have the big five, which I will talk about this week. There's the four that I named earlier, and I think that Straka, having been on the Ryder Cup team, playing good golf, and a guy that people have been betting at good numbers so far in the near past, and being the defending champion, will be a part of that crew as well. I have all four of them under 20 to 1. Cantlay at 12, Spieth and Sungjae at 14, Dan Straka at 18. I do think that even to look at some of the names that have played well at this tournament and won in the past, that have gone on to make the finals of the FedEx Cup, have played pretty well at Eastlake in the past. Obviously, Ryan Moore and Jordan Spieth. Cantlay has played really well there. So if you want to go take a look at Eastlake to kind of cross-reference, there's not many players in the field this week who have played at Eastlake, but that could just be another out to take a look at as well. After that, I have no one in the 20s, which is probably wrong, but I have this grouping. Actually, I have Rye. Rye at 28. If he wins, he probably won't play anyway. If he comes in second, he'll probably get his open. If he comes in second, I think he gets his Open Championship spot because of Detroit, but he'll be playing for another one here. I have him at 28 to 1. After that, I have Denny and Glover at 33, Poston and Davis Thompson at 33 to 1, Mav McNeely at 35, Keith Mitchell at 40, Cam Davis at 50, and then throw up your hands. You're going to see some weirdo names be wildly overpriced or way back in this field once the odds drop, and then we'll all bet it into place. Jeff and I will talk about all of this on Monday's show. So I hope that was helpful for you. If you're Canadian, enjoy your long weekend. If you're American, get in those hours, get your lineups in, then have the best 4-day weekend money can buy or money can't buy. If you're staying at home, play some golf, spend some time with the fam, and just have a great time. All right. FantasyNational.com/Mayo. Get you 20% off. Code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy. Get you a deposit bonus of up to $250. Again, scan for those fairway props once they're released. Hit them early if they're low enough, because 70% is the driving accuracy percentage for the field as a whole at the John Deere Classic. Smash the likes up to the channel while you're here, and that free newsletter will always have more information in it. All right? I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!